Hello and welcome all the Web3 enthusiasts. It's Max speaking, and today I'm honored to have an interview with one of our most charismatic speakers, Jayden Sage. And Jayden, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Max. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. So our audience mostly knows you already, but for the newcomers, please briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I originally have a Wall Street background, and I got into blockchain space in 2011. Time just keeps passing so fast. I'm even shocked that I say that all those years. But yeah, so it's been a while. I run Global Crypto Council. We advise governments, we advise startups on blockchain technology, as well as supporting startups through capital and as angel investor and a group of angel investors. I also, on the side, run Celestial Ventures, which invests in frontier tech that is associated specifically to space industry. So that includes AI, includes some of the other supporting industries that we will need when we go out there. So those two things keep me quite occupied.
Perfect, thank you. So guys, you see, we brought a real expert for you today. And let's start our interview going. We will dive into artificial intelligence, cover some interesting aspects of it, and Jayden will share his opinion. So let's begin. And what I want to start with is a small note that according to the speed of bringing new AI products to the market and the resources being spent on training AI models and building supercomputers for them, artificial intelligence turns to be the new internet of 2020s rather than a short-term dot-com fad some claimed it to be several years ago. So we'll talk about it, and the first question will be pretty wide, but I think it's better. Uh, what first comes to mind when seeing blockchain plus AI is usually trading and creation of bots that do trading better than humans do. And in fact, many areas can be improved with artificial intelligence. For instance, security, as in protection from unauthorized access, suspicious transactions, and attacks. Have you, as an advisor and investor, seen an increase in demand for such solutions?
Yeah, I mean, look, AI basically is a denominator industry, right? So you attach your numerator to that. So whether it's blockchain or any other industry, AI just makes it better, right? Like, so think of AI like a steroid shot, right? Like, so it'll improve all processes where human input is required and where we fall short. So across the board, what we're seeing is that there's optimization efficiencies occurring. People are also moving forward with smaller teams. So with the infusion of AI, so there's like these two lines, right? So you've got the line of AI projection, and then you've got blockchain, which is permeating more and more and becoming more of a solidified older industry. I mean, the way tech is moving, blockchain now qualifies as an old industry, right? Like pretty soon you'll have people coming into the space who'll be like treating it as if it's some sort of an old industry, right? So what's happening is that as AI is getting more robust, it's going to give blockchain more and more empowerment. So the startups that are coming on and existing models that are already there are only getting better and more optimized and becoming leaner and more efficient because of AI. But then that said, Max, that can apply to any industry, right? So AI will do that for any industry. I mean, if you're a plastic manufacturer, all of a sudden you could be leaner. You could have do the same thing with less people, and you're able to optimize. So it's a knock-on effect on all industries, not within just blockchain.
Yeah, sure. So AI is to improve the world in all the aspects. Okay, thanks. And next question is that recently we've seen the decentralization is being given up in favor of the other two aspects of the blockchain trilemma. namely security and scalability, and also in favor of getting higher regulatory approval. Do you believe there will be room for decentralization and pseudonymity when blockchain technology achieves mass adoption and full regulatory approval?
Yeah, so this actually is a very deep question, so we're gonna have to peel the layers of this onion a little bit
Yeah, let's dive into
because yeah, whoever in your team came up with that question, kudos to them because this is like a really good question. So we have our own trilemma in blockchain, right? So you have the biggest challenge is, can we achieve decentrality? Now, well, I'll go there. AI is supposed to empower the individual, and it's supposed to facilitate, and it marries well with the decentrality concept. So, as an individual or a group of individuals are empowered over a centralized, even remember, large companies operate as centralized operations also. So if you have a company with 50 people, and even within blockchain, if they have a blockchain company, that's achieving centrality, if you will. It's going towards centrality. So the effect is that any of these operations start to look like a centralized operation. But so having AI go in there is supposed to facilitate more decentrality. Now, the problem is, where does AI come from, right? Like if AI was an organic industry, like, Satoshi Nakamoto comes along and it's just a dude or a couple of dudes out there or women who just put this together, right? A team of people put this together. But that's not what the case is with AI. AI is heavily, heavily centralized to the FANGs, to the big companies that are out of Silicon Valley. And the ones that are being facilitated by governments are for governments, but for the government, by the government, right? Like, so they just for military and all that stuff. So the ones that we actually have access, the populace has access to, are the ones that are coming from the FANGs, but the FANGs are basically centralized operations. So when you have AI that's coming from a centralized origin and you're using it for the decentralized endeavor, it kind of is like an oxymoron. It's like a jumbo shrimp, right? Like, what is it, jumbo or is it a shrimp? So you've got that going on. So to answer your question in the most filtered way, yes, it helps decentralization. However, what's caked into AI as it's continuously being developed by these companies is centralization. So you're hitting a product from centralization into decentralization, and the jury's out. We don't know what that'll yield. So that's regarding the trilemma. The centrality component that's the challenge. Yes, short term, and for the top layer, you're going to see the effect that it enables centrality. But it is the more robust AI gets, and the more we humans become hands off, the more it'll show its true nature. And its true nature is that it's been birthed in centrality. So you may, when we humans look the other way and say, let's go to the beach, we'll let the AI take care of it. All of a sudden, when you come back, it's beginning to, walk like, they say, if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck. So, we may have that, not now, but in the near future, where we'll be like, what the hell, we looked away and look what it did. So that's coming. And whether we like it or not, that's not really a debate. That the robustness of AI will facilitate more control from the AI. And what concerns me is that then you're going to have a more centralized effect on it. So that's for that part of it. Now, the other two parts of the trilemma, if you want to go into any aspect of how AI will affect that, we can discuss that as well.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead. Let's discuss.
So, scalability is easy. Anything that enables scalability is like awesome, right? So scalability is not just a function of technology. Scalability is a function of brand awareness. or your product market penetration, right? So that is what facilitates scalability. You could have a great product, and if nobody knows about it and nobody knows how to use it, all of a sudden it's going nowhere. We can look through history and see plenty of products like that that never made it. So scalability is not just a function of awesome tech, it's a function of brand awareness. It's a function of how deeply you can saturate the market with your product. And we've also seen the flip where crappy products are permeated in the market primarily because their marketing was so fantastic, right? So that AI will help it because brand awareness, product market fit, all of those things, AI can come in and create the chatbots, and it can create everything that you need to create a outsized marketing effect vis-a-vis your budget because you need less people to do that, and it can just go to town. So on scalability, you're good to go. Now, what was the third one? Is I have a concern on the third one. So you got scalability under trilemma. What's the third one?
The third one, so security, I guess.
Yeah. So security is going to be a double-edged sword. Again, in the beginning, AI facilitates security because you can watch out for bad actors. You can keep like more of a guard on what's going on through technology, which AI can monitor for you. But going down the road, that same security is going to be compromised or challenged because AI is not just going to be used by good actors. It's going to be used by the bad actors as well. So it's kind of like Max, the effect that money has, right? Because like if you're money doesn't make you who you are, right? I know we're digressing for a second, but it has the same effect. If you're an awesome person and you have more money, you're just going to become an even more awesome person. You like to do charity, you do other good, awesome things for humanity. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, I have more money. I can do even more now. But if you're a person who's like, not like, we won't use negative words, but it's not a good person, and they have more money, they're just going to become more evil, right? Like, so like now I can amp up my evilness, So, when you look at AI has the same effect as money. Where if you are going to be if you're a good actor, you're going to use this technology to do all the right things. But if you're a bad actor, you're also going to be enabled. It's still a steroid shot to your endeavors, and it's going to amp up. Net, it achieves a neutral effect because the good guys are using AI, bad guys are using AI, and they're constantly pitting each other to see who can outwit or out-technology each other. So that's the thing in there. But I do want to put a little caveat in there regarding regulation. I don't know regarding whether AI will, because I know you said this before you even asked this question, regarding regulation regulation's been trying to join the club of blockchain for an extended period of time. But it just seems like it never came in to the conference room, right? Like we all wind up in conference rooms in blockchain and we discuss new tech, new ideas, new concepts. How many of us ran into regulators in the audience? Even a representative of a regulator who's like, hey, I represent, so-and-so's office, and I'm here to learn about blockchain. No, never happened. And when you have somebody on stage, it isn't a politician, because a politician writes a regulation and then we all suffer. I'm sorry, we benefit from those regulations, right? So the problem is that even when you see speakers on stage, they're not regulators. They are just attorneys. So they're the interpreters of the regulation, which doesn't even exist. So they're spitballing it. They're giving you a little bit of regulation and a whole lot of speculation. So we've never actually had regulators in the mix. And for all these years, we kind of wanted them in the mix. So not only do they provide rails, guardrails, but they also would have joined in the narrative and said, look, this is where our concerns lie. We don't want you to go that deep in that direction because then it doesn't serve the greater populace. And my job is to serve and protect the populace. So we need you guys to steer to the left. So that never happened. So, and then from the outsider perspective, they're throwing regulations into the mix, which without, if you're not in the conference room, how you're going to know exactly how it works? Because you hired experts, yes, but it's always best. If you want to learn how to swim, you have to get into the water. You can read 1,000,000 books, you can hire 1,000,000 experts to tell you what the stroke will be, but unless you get into the water and try it yourself, you won't know. I used to be a lifeguard, so I know how people, yeah, so I know how people, I used to do a training class for beginning swimmers, and it all comes down to you have to get into the water in order to learn actually how to float. So, that is the big challenge that never actually changed out, that the regulators never became a peer group where they're like, look, let's all work together to get this where we need to go. So I don't know if that's going to change because of AI. How? So magically, ChatGPT will give them all of the deeper understandings of blockchain. You know, that's I don't see that that's possible. You have to get into the mix, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, sure. I like the idea that the AI is like the money highlighting the negative or positive parts of the human nature. So let's hope for the best guys to win this battle, or at least to keep the balance. Wow, that was interesting.
That's always, Max, our dilemma. That's not a trilemma. That's always been humanity's dilemma. A guy comes across and he creates a flint hand axe, right? And he says, "Look, you can cut your meat now. You don't have to try to tear it apart with your teeth. I've built you this tool, and you can cut, meat with it." And some guy in the corner says, maybe I can kill a human with this and take the meat that they have. So that's always with technology. That's always the dilemma, that it's always an enabler. So it comes, all technology reverts back to us. You cannot blame the technology. It's kind of like if you give a monkey a gun and the monkey shoots the gun, you don't blame the monkey, right? So this is the same thing with any tech, where it comes back down to us. We think nowadays that we can out-tech our problems, that we can just use technology to solve all our problems. But in reality, technology is not going to solve our problems. It is dialogue between each other that will help solve our problems. But that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, so even though the artificial intelligence is supposed to work without humans, it is created for humans and used by humans. Well, the time will show. Let's see. Okay, let's speak a bit about the current trends in the industry and also how it comes with AI. So we've seen a lot of abbreviations like ICO, IDO, IO, STO, and so on, DeFi, NFT, meme coins, and now everyone is speaking about AI. So it's becoming the new top industry trend. And in your opinion, what will be the next blockchain industry trend after AI, and what are the risks associated with the current situation in the market and trends?
Yeah. So, I mean, blockchain actually in the last run up, and not this run up, the bigger run up that we had post the pandemic, it actually like there's bifurcation, trifurcation, so quadfurcation, if that's a word. It's split into 4 industries. Blockchain actually split into 4 industries. You have the legacy tokens, the ones that are there. They don't really do anything other than it's just store of value. Not just Bitcoin. Many of the other coins serve as a speculation tool or a parking of your capital for price appreciation. Then you have DeFi. Then you have NFTs. So you have all of these industries becoming separated, right? So with all of these industries becoming separate, the people I remember a couple of years ago, I was at Art Basel in Miami. They didn't know much about legacy tokens. They didn't even know much about blockchain. There were artists who were focused fully on their art, and were using blockchain to tokenize their art. So NFT just stands for non-fungible token. So you're assigning a token to that piece of art. So we had that separation occur. And then now we're at this place. AI can give birth to yet another branch, if you will, but more than likely, it's not going to give birth to a branch. What it's going to actually do is become an enabler of those technologies. But what I do want to touch on is a trend that's going to have one of the greatest effects, if done right, is going back to the NFT concept, because NFT is non-fungible tokens that were assigned to art, but they can also be assigned to anything. So, if it's assigned to anything, it can also, let's use an example. People have been doing tokenization of real estate, and it hasn't yet taken off. So that has an concept of taking off. But can it also be applied? And we'll run through a case where it shows how it can be applied. Let's say you and I hit up a restaurant that I recommended. And when we go in there, we see that there's so many people there, and it's like madhouse. People are just dying to get in. It took us 45 minutes to get a table. And you're like, Jayden, this place is amazing. And I'm like, yeah, and you can own a piece of it. And you're like, how? Well, the owners are mom and pop, but they decided to tokenize their operation. So you can buy $100 worth of this restaurant. And then you could look at their pitch deck and say, oh my God, they have expansion plans. They're the next, big thing to explode. And I like it. So I want to buy, and I only have $1,000, and I just want to put 1,000 or 100 or $10. So what that does is it democratizes investments instead of it being tied to you being an accredited investor, because they're not, they don't have shares. It's like a very small operation. And if you're trying to get in, and if they're trying to pitch to you, there's all these regulations, and you have to be an accredited investor in order to make that purchase. But that will be facilitated through NFTs being utilized by businesses, by real estate, by every aspect where you can tokenize it and then sell a portion, effectively creating the birth of $1 trillion industry. So that's coming. Nobody's really focused on that, because when it explodes, it's going to explode big, kind of like NFT, but bigger, because you can touch it. Like if you bought a JPEG with a cool looking ape, that's great, but that was just a JPEG. It was a digital image. But when you walk into a restaurant again and again and again and just see that it's doing great, maybe you talk to the owner, and then you're like, I have full faith and confidence in this growing. Now you're investing and you're telling all your friends, and it just has a knock-on effect. When somebody told me to buy a Bored Ape, I was kind of sus, It's like, I'm not buying this Bored Ape for $5,000. I'm not paying $5,000. And then lo and behold, it was like $250,000. So, but I couldn't wrap my mind around it. Otherwise, we would have all bought it, right? So, but you can wrap your mind around something you feel, hear, touch, sense, and can see it in real life. And that's the deeper place where NFTs will be going.
Well, yeah. So I believe also that when the hype of NFTs was so huge, the real basis of this technology was just covered with all this hype, and then a negative effect went when it was mostly minus 99% from the price people buy NFT, and they just say it's a useless technology and so on. But yeah, I believe it's still underestimated, and we'll see how it will explode hard.
Well, look, version 1 of NFTs was kind of hard to believe. I mean, we also really, really stupid projects, like where they're selling NFTs of some new themed whales or this or sharks or dolphins, and people were paying 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I mean, because they're like, okay, the old one they put out went to 10,000, so I'm only paying 3,000. But $3,000, even in this inflated environment, buys you a lot. People do this comparative analysis where they think like, okay, you know what, this thing is doing great and I'm buying it at a discount. But if you're paying $5,000 for something that is now moved up to $10,000 and they just issued a new one, 5,000 still buys you a lot. So you need to keep that in perspective, and people get wrapped in comparative analysis. Comparative analysis means you're just only comparing it to it. You're not comparing it to the other things that you could purchase with that money, and that's quite important. So this is the big challenge, that people aren't seeing that. And with NFTs, we really decided to go overboard because there was a lot of money in the system, and people were just buying anything and everything. But then we were playing stupid games, So if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, So we all saw all of those go down, and then we were like, "How much is that worth now?" I don't want to talk about it. You notice everybody. My ear was being chewed off about how awesome people's investments were and like how much money they were making on this, but I don't hear from them anymore. And they're not coming and approaching me and saying, look how much money I'm making. People always talk when they're winning, but they don't talk when they're losing. Nobody goes out of their way and say, "I just lost 50K." They don't do that. So you got to remember that when the hype cycle is out and about, and everybody's talking, and you have your own perspective and your own analytical, deeper understanding, you need to factor that in and not get caught in the cycle. Like Warren Buffett says that as a pitcher, if you're looking at baseball, every pitch that's thrown to you, you don't have to hit the ball. You can wait for the perfect pitch, irrelevant of what the crowd is saying. The crowd could be like, "Come on, hit it out," like, let's hit this out of the ballpark. Let's do it. But as the person at bat, you need to be like, "Okay, I don't need to hit every ball that comes my way. I only got to hit one and get that, home run." So, all of that gets lost, and that goes back into our psychology where we just start going with the flow.
Yeah, I like how you share this wisdom through such examples. And
well, we're going to need it. We're going to need it because, blockchain always recedes and then it goes up. So let me guess. Are we going to have another awesome cycle where Bitcoin will be like $1.50, Ethereum will be touching $7,000, and then people will come out with stupid stuff, and then we'll all be like pressured to like, should we buy it? Should we buy it? I felt that pressure. I've been in the industry for a while, but I felt that pressure. Like, oh my God, I think I'm missing out. So FOMO hits us all, but we just need to become more grounded. This is a built up industry now. It's no longer a new industry where any token that comes out, you just got to buy it because it's going to 100x. Not all of them will 100x.
So as we can see, the entire discussion is all about the human nature. So it's all focused on human beings and their efforts and their behavior.
It is all about human nature. We created AI because we wanted vacations.
Yes.
We actually wanted to go to the beach. We're like, I hate this job. Like, I don't care what job you have. I don't care if you work for yourself, and I don't care how much you enjoy it. And most of us do enjoy it, otherwise we change. But at the same time, there's this deep longing that, I just want to have some relaxation time. I wish someone could do my job so I could relax. But, so here we are. We created AI to help us. But now we're like, whoa, wait, you're too good of an employee. You might just take over my job. So now we're like freaking out. But at the same time, human nature created AI.
So yeah, as it is said, the laziness is the best engine for the progress. Okay, coming up with the last question. So we've talked a lot about so far deals with solutions on Earth, human nature, and so on. And with your background, I mean the physical one with those pictures on the wall, I think you are the perfect person to ask if there is a place for the blockchain technology in space.
Yes, that's a great question. Absolutely, there's a place for blockchain in space. Two factors. Let's break it up. Factor number one, wherever humans go, our technology goes, our needs go. So if you're talking about human expansion into space, which is our focus at Celestial, you need blockchain. You need it first and foremost because you cannot hand out physical paper money to somebody in a space station from the moon. So, you have a space station, you have moon, how are you going to send them money? PayPal, maybe. But at the same time, if you want to send it in an organized, decentralized, immutable way, peer-to-peer transaction, you're going to need blockchain. So blockchain, it's quite evident, facilitates human peer-to-peer, not just communication, but also transaction of financial value instruments. So you're going to need that in space as well. Where humans go, you will need it. Now, let's project out a little bit more, because that's obvious, right? Like, that's wherever humans go. If humans are on Venus, which they get fried, let's use another one. If humans are on Mars, and we need blockchain. Of course you'll need blockchain, But what about another way to look at it? You will also need blockchain when you're talking about robots, because robots and humans will walk hand in hand into space, because we need the robots, because the robots are the ones that are going to go outside of our cave or wherever we're huddled on another planet. And by the way, we'll be in caves. We won't be on pods on top of the land. You could go look at our videos that explain why we will be actually in caves, because the radiation will kill you. There's too many elements. There's lava tubes. You can go inside the tunnels and you can build 2 walls, close off an area, provide oxygen, and here you go. You have an underground facility and you're safe and you're able to prosper. So, but every time you need somebody to go out, it's going to be a robot. Like, I heard a loud bump, guys. What the hell was that? Send the robot. You're not going to send the human out there, right? So you can say like, oh, there's another meteor that crashed with radiation through the roof, right? So you're not going to, and I just brought it back to the rest of you guys. No, so you're going to use a robot. So robots are going to walk hand in hand into space with us. Now, robots also will be utilized by us, and then there'll be competition. There'll be other robots. And when you have robot to robot, they won't just be for security. They'll also be for work. So if you have a robot doing mining operation for you, and then you have another robot that needs something because there's a human attached on the back end who wants to buy those mining materials, you need a medium of exchange for them. You need a decentralized approach to not only control those robots, but also to be able to exchange value among those robots as well. That's the birth of, like, Internet of all things, right? Internet of Things. And that expansion will also have a blockchain component. So blockchain doesn't go away. It only permeates further and faster in space, because the distance alone means that you and I can't just meet up and exchange paper currency or utilize the things that we have here. It has to not only become something that's carried through electricity, if you will, but has to become something that occurs over time. Because you're not always going to have clear communication, but the transaction has to occur and be date stamped. So I sent you some money. I'm on Mars. You're on the moon. I sent you some money or some value instrument, but we don't have good connection right now. So it has to become independent of time in order for that transaction to already be locked. So I can't take it back. I can't be like, no, I found another supplier. I'm going to send my money to him. And meanwhile, you're waiting because you sent out some money because in anticipation of me sending you money. So because the communication lags will cause challenges. So this will solve that challenge where it's recorded, it's done, it's immutable, you cannot take back that transaction. So I know we did a little bit of a deeper dive in there, but at the same time, these things will challenge us and in new ways. Space will challenge us in new ways, and blockchain will be one of the technologies that facilitates smoother transition into space.
Well, I just realized that I'm fully immersed in the picture you created in my mind. So like, I've seen it in the movies, but so you're so concerned about this, and while there are so many people still skeptic about the blockchain implementation and its adoption even on Earth, you are so positive about its implementation in space. So yeah, it's really good for me as a crypto enthusiast and blockchain enthusiast to hear that. So
blockchain, the thing is, I've seen an inverse relationship between blockchain and people who are not enthusiasts. If they're, the more you learn about blockchain, the bigger an enthusiast you become. The less you actually know about blockchain, the more of a skeptic you become. So generally, what I've noticed that majority of the skeptics tend to have one common characteristics, which they haven't actually looked at blockchain. So everybody can become an opinion, can have an opinion without the deeper understandings or the requisite research. But then you actually have to start to know why it's a good thing. And I strongly recommend anybody coming into blockchain to read Satoshi Nakamoto's paper. So most people think of, when they think of a white paper, they think like, oh my God, this is going to be brain damage. Let me leave that alone and let me just go and become a blockchain enthusiast. He wrote the paper, if it's a he wrote the paper specifically for the average person to understand. So it is not that long. It'll give you a very powerful understanding of what's trying to be achieved. And it's written in layman terms, comes even with graphs. So, go through, do yourself a favor, read Satoshi Nakamoto's paper. It's not like reading the Bible and then you're like halfway, you're like I can't do this anymore. Yeah, I read it. I read the Bible. That's why. No, read Satoshi Nakamoto's paper. It's only a few pages. It's like 6 or 7 pages with graphs, and it's double spaced. So don't worry, it's not a lot. Read it because you will appreciate the industry better if you're a newbie, and you'll understand it. You'll appreciate it even more and become even more deeper in your understandings why blockchain is a robust industry that ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's very useful advice. And I'm just wondering how many people in the industry have read Satoshi's paper. I think we can create some poll on that to see.
I mean, look, that goes back to how, again, that goes back to human nature. How many Christians have read the Bible? Like how many people who advocate for a particular religion have actually cover to cover read their, book? So, this is quite the common effect that we have. We tend to just look for the hacks. We tend to just look for the, when you were in school, you had those abbreviated versions, like the 20-page the book that lets you know what the important points are within that 500-page book. So you use those in school. So we're all kind of doing that. But luckily, Satoshi Nakamoto's paper is only 7 pages. Grab it, read it. It's a PDF available everywhere. Google it and do yourself a favor.
Yeah, so don't skip this basis, guys. Well, one of the most evident, but still, I would say, really useful advices. So, thank you very much, Jayden, for this talk. I really enjoyed it, and I think all of our guys here also enjoyed it as well. And I do hope that the number of people who read Satoshi's paper will increase after this. So, in conclusion, any more useful advices, wishes, forecasts, insights?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. And it's, I look forward to when you do some more of your conferences, in Turkey and other places. Every time blockchain goes down or has that effect, blockchain is a established industry now. It's gonna continue to ride the cycles that are affecting the rest of the economy. We're no longer the rebels, unfortunately. Like we're joining the masses, still have a rebel hat that we wear. But so when blockchain goes down, that's when everybody exits. And then they come back in the next hype cycle or in the next run-up. So it's here to stay. It's going to continue doing its thing. Don't buy the latest coin craze, so you're going to replicate Bitcoin, And also, another thing that I noticed, this is just for the newbies, people just coming in. It's important to note that when they say Bitcoin's at 70,000, I missed the boat, I can't buy it. You can buy $100 of Bitcoin. Nobody says you have to start with a coin, like, okay, I need 70,000 to buy Bitcoin. No, you need $1 to buy Bitcoin. So, and if it doubles, when it was 15,000 and you bought, you couldn't buy $15,000 worth. You could have bought $100 worth. And then when it quadrupled, so your $100 would have become $400. It's not bad. That's a 4x. That's a 400% rate of return. Mutual funds average what, 10, 12? If they're rock stars, 8. If they're just, mundane ones. So that's pretty good. But people think like I missed the boat on Bitcoin, so I'm going to go invest in the latest altcoin in the hopes that it becomes Bitcoin tomorrow. And this applies for any Ethereum, Bitcoin, all of them, that you could buy $100 worth or $1 worth and still be able to. Bitcoin goes to 1 million, and many people, newbies I meet all the time, their thought process is, I missed it. 70,000 today, it's going to be 1 million. I just missed it. No, you didn't. If it goes to 1 million one day, when it goes to 1 million one day, that's more than a 10x, right? So if you have $1,000 and you 10x'd it to $10,000, you still made money. So keep that in mind, that you don't need to have 70,000 to buy Bitcoin. And today, as of recording, you only need $57,000. So it's, it gyrates. Volatility is a good thing. And every time it goes down, people run for the exits. But that's when you're supposed to buy. Buy when everybody's fearful and sell when everybody's greedy, right? So it's important to remain cognizant of that.
Yeah. So it's again all about human nature, which we cannot change, but we can at least control our train of mind and this nature. So thank you very much.
We can get better. We can get better every day. We're not created perfect. We all have our flaws, but we can keep getting better every day, bit by bit.
Yeah, the development never stops.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks again, Jayden. It was a pleasure to have you here, and looking forward for seeing you in our upcoming interviews or panel discussions.